Graham, great to speak to you. Un placer, como siempre. It's always a pleasure. Tell us, Luis Enrique, does he have that real hunger, that real desire to work in the Premier League?
David, I'm going to take that as a leading question because the truth is that, yes, he's an extremely driven man. I know firsthand that his English is very good, that he's been practicing it, that he absolutely desires to work in England. He won't go to any club where he doesn't think he has an outright chance of competing for big trophies. He won't go to any club where he's asked to go in a beauty parade of coaches. He will specifically, and again, I know this firsthand, he will specifically want to know that the club that's inviting him to talk to them has an absolute knowledge of his methods, of his ideas, and will sign off on his total commitment to attacking football. If he doesn't feel that the club that approaches him has all of those boxes ticked, he'll turn down any job. It will not be a question of salary. It will be an absolute question, David, of Luis Enrique Martinez being crystal clear that the club understands him and his principles, backs them, and wants to hire him not just because he's available or not just because they've got a problem, but because they absolutely believe in his philosophy.
Okay, so what you're saying here, Graham, is that it'd be more a case of Luis Enrique choosing Chelsea than Chelsea choosing Luis Enrique, and that he is not going to choose a project where it doesn't fit what he wants. He's not that desperate just to get straight back into a job in football.
Well, that's exactly what I just said, David. There is no way that it's Luis Enrique only choosing the club. It has to be, to dance successfully, you need two partners. It needs to be mutual. All I'm expressing is that if anybody is saying that Luis Enrique, because he doesn't have a job currently, is desperate to take any old position, or if anybody's saying that it's because Chelsea or, say, Tottenham would pay him a gigantic salary, those are not the main criteria for Luis Enrique Martinez. Let everybody be absolutely clear. He plays attacking football. It will always be about high pressing, constant pressing. It will always be about clubs who want to have attacking, daring football. He will always say, wherever he goes next, when you hear his press conferences, introductory, pre-match, post-match, you will hear him saying, and in crystal clear English, if it happens to be in the Premier League, or perhaps even at Dodry one day in charge of my beloved Aberdeen, the truth of it is he will always say, if my team is winning 1-0 or 2-1 with 10 minutes left to go of the FA Cup final, the Champions League final, they will be told to play forward, to attack, to press. He will never play defensive football. He feels he's in a school of maybe 3 or 4 coaches around the world who are absolutely committed to attacking football. Pep Guardiola, of course, being one of them.
And in terms of what he would want, his conditions and the sporting environment that he would demand, what would that look like compared to, say, what Graham Potter had, and he was sort of appointed as a project, but that hasn't lasted as long as first expected?
Not easy. I've been at Chelsea training ground when Graham Potter was the manager, but I haven't witnessed his training sessions. So the direct comparison would be guesswork for me. I've been at very many of Luis Enrique's training sessions. I know him personally, away from this profession. His idea is that players commit completely to him, to his disciplines, to his ideas. Players under Luis Enrique are always given a chance to flourish, to be their best version. But if they don't follow his instructions about what they should do on and off the ball, how they should press, how quickly they try to play forward passes, how fit they are, how well disciplined their lives are, then those types of players, of whom I think there are increasingly few, those types of players won't flourish. Any footballer of any age or any ability that has managed to get to the club that he coaches next, if they have a rapacious appetite for training, for discipline, for understanding his fairly straightforward tactics, they are complicated to execute, but they're very simple to understand. Footballers who are disciplined, ambitious, who are good at timekeeping, those who want to win trophies and follow his instructions as to how, they'll flourish. And in my experience, they'll have the time of their lives. Very few coaches in the modern era have won a treble. Luis Enrique Martinez has done that at Football Club Barcelona. Anybody, literally anybody who witnessed the football that his Barcelona played from about January to May in the year that they won the league, the Copa del Rey, and the Champions League will understand that it's some of the most spectacular football ever played. And his commitment, irrespective of whether he's got a young Messi and Suarez and Neymar and Piqué and Xavi and Iniesta in his team, his commitment, David, is to play that brand of football always.
And what about him as a man and off the pitch? Because during the World Cup, he was known for his live streams on Twitch. We know that he's got a charitable side too, but especially that kind of direct contact with the fans through, something like Twitch. Is that something that Chelsea fans can expect if he becomes their manager as well?
No, I suspect not. That the Twitch was an idea brought to him by his son, who's an extremely clever, agile, modern young man. They raised something like 30,000 from that Twitch. That was Luis Enrique's share of it. He donated it to a charity that fights against childhood cancer. Yes, he has a charitable side. He's an extremely interesting man, buoyant. He's electric to be in company with. His football knowledge is extensive. He's been watching Premier League football closely for a very long time now. He's a guy who you and I grew up in Britain watching managers who were sergeant majors, who led, and you followed their instructions. There's a part of Luis Enrique Martinez's character that's like that, but equally he's an extremely good coach. He's a very good communicator. There will be, I think, a large majority of footballers who work under him in the future, and I think the majority of those who worked under him in the past, who are inspired by him, who we use crude terms in Britain, I think, like you'd run through brick walls for him. In his human side, in the way in which he communicates, my belief is that he is genuinely inspirational. There are very few people like him, and I think it's only the slackers or the ones who feel that they are afraid of attacking football who won't find themselves improved by him. Under his reign, Spain reached the semi-finals of the European Championship, outplayed eventual champions Italy and went out on penalties. They reached the final of the Nations League, were very cruelly beaten by France 2-1, having led. They've reached under him the most recent semi-final of the Nations League. He's been a very, very successful international coach. As I say, his work at Celta Vigo, at Roma, at Barcelona, all of them showed very clearly for anybody who wants to hire him how his football will look, what it will be like having him as an employee. But say again, David, he's not the kind of man who'll go in a beauty parade of 3 or 4 or 5 coaches and try and pitch. He will say to any club that wants him, if you want me, come and get me. Yes, I'll talk to you. Yes, we'll talk through the terms, but it must be me that you want, not sieving amongst 3 or 4 candidates. He's very clear-cut, very determined, very dogmatic about that.